It began with the kind of small changes most people would brush off, little things, little shifts, but when you've been married to someone for 6 years, you notice. Amanda used to be casual about her phone. It would lie around the house, like any other object, forgotten on the kitchen counter or buzzing unattended on the nightstand. But lately, it was always within arm's reach, gripped tightly in her hand or zipped up inside her purse. Like it contained national secrets, she started laughing at messages I wasn't allowed to see, brushing off my questions with half smiles and vague comments like, "Oh, just something silly from a group chat." Her late-night texting sessions grew more frequent, and every time I entered the room, the phone would snap shut, the glow vanishing like guilt into shadows. I wanted to believe it was nothing. I told myself not to be that guy, the paranoid husband, the snoop, the man who sees monsters in closets. But there was a growing distance between us that couldn't be ignored. Conversations turned into monosyllables. Intimacy faded to polite routine. The spark we'd once had dimmed into something cold and unfamiliar. Then one evening, she told me she was going out with her old college friends. I offered to drive her, to at least see her off. She laughed lightly and said, "It's just girls tonight. You'd be bored out of your mind." That was the third girls' night in just 2 weeks. Always vague, always just long enough to stretch suspicion. That's when I did something I never thought I would. I planted a GPS tracker in her car. I wasn't proud of it. I hated what it meant that I no longer trusted the woman I'd promised my life to. But I needed answers, truth. That night, while she claimed to be sipping drinks and reminiscing with college friends, her car pinged a location 25 minutes away. A boutique hotel, not a bar, not a restaurant, not a friend's house. My heart thundered in my chest as I drove out there, parking across the street beneath a flickering street lamp. 15 minutes later, I saw her. She walked out of the hotel arm in arm with a man I didn't recognize, tall, smug, wearing a leather jacket. They stopped right outside the entrance. She looked up at him and smiled. And then they kissed. Not a fleeting kiss, not a mistake. This was practiced, familiar, intimate. Her hands rested against his chest like they belonged there. I sat in my car, frozen. Every suspicion I had buried was now staring me in the face. My marriage wasn't just cracking, it was breaking. But I didn't confront her, not yet. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched and listened. I became an investigator in my own home, compiling a case I never wanted to build. I tracked her movements. I cloned her phone messages to my laptop using discreet software. One night, she forgot to close her email, and I saw an exchange with him. Other nights, I overheard whispers from the hallway when she thought I was asleep or out. And then came the call, the one that pushed everything over the edge. I was in the garage. Door cracked just enough when I heard her voice from the living room. "Don't worry about him. He's clueless," she said, laughing softly. "And if he does find out, well, you said it yourself, you'll handle him fast." She lowered her voice to a whisper, then giggled. "You're not scared of my husband, are you?" I didn't catch his response. I didn't need to. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I retrieved her phone from her purse. I had already sensed her messages, but something compelled me to see them directly. And there it was, the message that ignited a fire in my veins. "If your husband ever gets in our way, I'll handle him fast. He won't know what hit him." A boast, a threat, a clear line crossed. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about disrespect, about being mocked in my own home by a man who thought I was blind, weak, irrelevant. That text flipped the switch in me. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to throw plates or scream or beg. I was going to end it on my terms. The next morning, I met with a lawyer. I laid everything out: the texts, the tracker logs, the screen recordings, even the security footage I'd gotten from the hotel manager, who was surprisingly cooperative once I explained the situation might involve legal proceedings. My lawyer reviewed it all and said I had an ironclad case: adultery, emotional abuse, threats, all documented. He advised me to stay calm, follow protocol, and let him handle the legal war. But I had one more act of closure to deliver. The following week, I invited Amanda to a quiet dinner at home. I cooked her favorite meal, lit candles, played soft music. I wanted her relaxed, disarmed. She walked in smiling, a little too brightly, like A woman who thought her lies had worked. She wore the same red dress she had on the night I saw her leave that hotel. The arrogance of it was almost laughable. Halfway through the meal, I slid a folder across the table. "What's this?" she asked. "Everything," I said simply. "Every message, every lie, every hotel visit. All of it." She hesitated. Then she opened it. I watched as her face drained of color. Her hands trembled as she flipped through photos, transcripts, time-stamped footage. Before she could find her words, I continued, calm and quiet. "I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer will be in touch. Custody motions are already in progress." Tears filled her eyes, but I remained unmoved. So, and one more thing, I said, leaning back in my chair. "Tell your tough guy not to worry about handling me. I've already handled both of you." She tried to call me for days after. Then the text started. Apologies, then begging, then guilt-tripping. When that failed, she turned to mutual friends, spinning some sad story about how I was being cold, vindictive. So I showed them the evidence. Screenshots, footage, silence followed. Most of them cut ties with her. As for the guy, he actually had the audacity to show up at my office one afternoon. He walked in wearing the same damn leather jacket, all arrogance and swagger. "We need to talk," he said, trying to look serious. I smirked. "We don't." Then I handed him a copy of the restraining order. His expression faltered, his bravado crumbling like paper. "Try bragging about that," I said as security escorted him out. The divorce took a few months, but it finalized entirely in my favor. I kept the house, won full custody of our dog. She walked away with nothing but the wreckage of her own choices. I heard through the grapevine that her so-called knight in leather armor ghosted her shortly after. No closure, no goodbye, just silence. Let them brag now. I'm living free, clear, unapologetically focused, and miles away from the toxic mess they tried to drag me into.